Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Colombo because you've probably seen this ship everywhere lately. I think Libertad and Colombo are the most common battleships I see these days. It makes a lot of sense when it comes to the Libertad, but for Colombo, why are we seeing this thing so much? You probably already know, but of course the answer comes down to the accuracy buffs this ship received. Which was about time, honestly. Colombo went from being a rather frustrating, not very enjoyable ship to play, to being possibly the best battleship at tier 10. So I played it a little bit and had an absolute blast. Surprising no one, you play a meta popular ship that is very consistent and powerful. I'm gonna have a good time with it. In fact, I averaged over 2 hours, 200,000 damage in this thing. So we got some highlights to show you while I talk a little bit about what makes this ship so special and why you should probably try and get it. Although I would expect a nerf to be incoming. Not soon necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wargaming is going to nerf this one down based on some of the statistics that we'll talk about in a little bit. But the buffs that it received last year now, or at the beginning of this year, I suppose, depending on when you're watching this video, was a 0.1 Sigma buff, a 10 degree buff to its turret firing angles in the rear, and a rudder shift buff. So what does that mean? That means broadside cruisers just evaporate. It also means we can dance around a little bit. It feels very comfortable to play this ship these days. Sure, you don't have a hydro, but having a fast rudder shift, 15.3 seconds base, really nice. And these firing angles, oh my goodness, these firing angles, 22 degrees forward firing angles for all 16 guns is crazy. When kiting, you do have to give 36 degrees of angle, so you're not well armored or you're not well angled when you're kiting. But with this ship, you can play it bow on like this. I think this is the real strength of the Colombo again, is you're able to play in a bow on position early game like this, getting into the fight, punching out massive damage salvos. This is crazy amounts of damage. And then when we get in trouble, we have a smoke screen to get away. Or at least that's how I've been playing the Colombo and having some good success with it. You have to be careful of radars, of course. If you try and smoke up and do your turn out while you're in smoke and you get radared, well, of course, that's not going to go particularly well. But in this case, we got rid of the radar, so we're free to turn away here. Some discipline required to not fire your guns instantly, of course. Our smoke fire is rather large, but a little bit of patience saves so much HP. It allows me to play aggressive like this, get in close, get more consistent, reliable damage, and safely get away. That's what allows Colombo to be incredible. This ship isn't necessarily a sniper. Even with these accuracy buffs, it still wants to play at mid-range. Most ships do, of course, but Colombo especially. 1.6 Sigma isn't too impressive, although 16 guns. Into a Schlieffen there. Oh my goodness. You're going to notice some of these shot traps, so Schlieffen gets a pretty good salvo into us here. Colombo salvo incoming is also going to hurt us. So when you're angled in a kiting position, you're not always going to have the best armor. So we go down to half HP there, just instantly. Not broadside, that is very well angled, but we still take quite a bit of damage. So playing a little more bow in like this, and I'm going to point out scenarios where I was playing this way when I had my smoke available. That's the key. We need that get out of jail free card, that smoke around to help us survive some of those situations. But I should be very clear about something. The legendary upgrade is a massive part of the reason Colombo is so popular and why it's performing so well recently. The legendary upgrade, of course, in the 6th upgrade slot, giving us 6% dispersion buff and a 6% reload buff. Typically, you're taking reload mod there for a 12% reload buff. So you're losing half that reload buff, 6% rather than 12%. But in return, 6% dispersion. Look at that. Look at that dispersion. It's crazy. And I don't think you're going to see that as often when you're not running the legendary upgrade. So, of course, if you're thinking of grinding for Colombo, which I think a lot of people are, given the popularity and the strength of it these days, keep in mind, you do have to grind out a legendary upgrade to get the full experience. The experience you're seeing here, and likely the experience you're finding in random battles, in ranked battles, where that Colombo on the enemy team just is consistently hitting you for 20 to 30k. It is a massive part of this ship. Bow on Riga, long range, nearly 20,000 damage, just like that. Just angle to the sap, right, guys? Just angle. It's not going to full pen you. It's kind of ridiculous. Gearing pushing in, a weakness of sap is it will not full pen destroyers. Of course, HE can get those full pens for even more damage. However, what if you just hit all of your shells, or almost all of them? 12 out of 16 on a gearing at 9 kilometers. Yeah, there is no improved dispersion against DDs, guys. It's only in your head. I don't know why. It really does feel like you have better dispersion anytime you're shooting at destroyers. It's crazy sometimes. Wild damage there into that gearing, nearly finishing him off. Iowa at medium to longer ranges there, over 20,000 damage. Not only does the legendary upgrade help you when it comes to your dispersion, but it also gives you better turret traverse because the reload mod nerfs your turret traverse by 13%. We don't have to pay that penalty here. Really, really nice. If you compare it to other older legendary upgrades like Yamato, certainly also gives you an accuracy buff. I believe that one's 7%, but massively nerfs your turret traverse and doesn't give you a reload buff on top of it. Crazy stuff. The combined reload or accuracy here of Colombo using your normal accuracy upgrade, 7%, and the legendary upgrade equals the American special upgrade or the American Battleship 6th upgrade slot accuracy. And I take that on every American battleship I can. It's really powerful. 11% accuracy is crazy. And that's what we're getting here. That's why it's so powerful as well. So let's take some time to talk about these statistics as we get into position. Notice here, we're going to use islands to isolate 1v1s. We're also trying to fire at the guys in enemy spawn, but we're not pushing the enemy spawn, right? We're waiting for them to, more than likely, finish their push along the 1-2-3 line. And I want to be there for that. 360 turrets allowing me to instantly swap flanks whenever I want to here. But these statistics here now on shiptool.st, that's the website I'm using. I think it's using the Wargaming API. I'm sure the stats Wargaming has on the back end that they see are way more detailed than this. But if we look at the all-time average damage for the Colombo here, let's just say all skill levels on the Colombo, it's 94,500 or so average damage across all skill levels on North America. The Europe one, 91,000 average damage. More people though, to be fair. If we look at the last 3 updates, for example, on North America, it goes up to 113,000. On EU, it goes up to 109,000. Insane uptick there. Not any other ship is really seeing that upgrade. It's not like players suddenly got better in the last 3 months. This is the buffs to this ship. And specifically, that legendary mod is rather recent. So, Cruiser just disappears when it goes broadside to you. It's so satisfying, man. This Italian baked-in gun feeder as well is really nice on these battleships. Combining that with Sansonetti, which also gives us a nice gun feeder boost, allows us to swap between SAP and AP whenever we want to, always having the correct ammo choice. Really nice to have. Maybe at this angle, you'd think I should go SAP on a Yamato. No, of course not. Yamato has the worst battleship hull in the game. We get to cheek him there at 10 kilometers. Poor Yamato, man. It's only held up by those guns. Everything else is... That is a tough ship these days. I'm not gonna lie. That is a rough one to play. We're at similar angles too. I'm shattering, bouncing, taking minor damage. He's taking citadels. That is tough. Stalingrad pushing out. We got the AP loaded. I'm gonna greed for this one a little bit. Broadside on 10 kilometers. Look at the dispersion. Look at that dispersion. And we don't get a citadel. Unlucky, guys. Unlucky. There's still a bit of RNG involved. It's still a decent hit, I suppose, but you'll have to forgive me for being slightly disappointed by that. Now, there is a sub in front of us, and Stalingrad is angling. So what can we do? We have our smoke available. Yes, he could radar us here, but I don't know if he's necessarily going to use it. And he's almost out of range for it anyway. But here, this allows us to go dark. This allows us to not take focus from the enemy ships. Perhaps even the enemy sub goes after someone else for a little bit. We'll see. And in fact, he does. So not only is this a great tool, this smoke, to get away, do that suicide turn after pushing in for free, but also it just takes you a small reprieve. It allows you to recharge your consumables. Notice we're recharging those consumables while we're in our smoke here. Although I had the sap, and Stalingrad just is a brick that takes so much, everything takes so much damage to sap, but especially larger ships like Stalingrad there, as we can see. So that's the Colombo, the reason it's so popular. It's just insane damage output these days. And if you think about it, it's 0.1 Sigma buff and 6% dispersion as far as the gun damage goes. That's the difference here. 6% dispersion, 0.1 Sigma. Really makes me think a little bit about game balance and how much harder I suppose it would be if a ship like Colombo has such a massive uptick just from those two changes alone. That is kind of wild. I'm not gonna lie. I would not have thought that Sigma change and 6% dispersion would be enough. And yet here it is. This ship is absolutely incredible again. If you remember when it released, it had the Deadeye buff. 20 kilometers, 40k damage on the North Carolina. Crazy. It had Deadeye, which if you weren't there for it, it was a temporary commander skill that Wargaming tried out for a bit and fairly quickly got rid of. It ushered in a very campy meta that we've really just never strayed from at this point. But if nobody on the enemy team was detected within your concealment circle, so in this case it's like 14 kilometers, if all the enemy ships detected on the map are outside of that range, you got a 10% accuracy buff on your ship. So you can imagine what that did to the playstyle of basically everyone. They all made sure every enemy ship was outside their ship's detection range, and they had a 10% accuracy buff all the time. Yeah, maybe not the best skill to have in the game. But Colombo was tested and released in that meta. So when that got taken away, I think we can see why some of those buffs came through, and perhaps why the ship was so unpopular and did relatively little damage, even though the sap is incredible. Here I'm just sticking with the AP for too long. I mentioned it already, but the gun feeder swap time is very short. It's under 10 seconds. I just need to swap to the sap or the AP, depending on the situation. I did make mistakes. It's not like I was playing perfectly, obviously. Make a lot of mistakes in this game, and I want to show off some of them. You really should be swapping no matter what. Even if you're loaded sometimes, getting over from the AP to the sap when they're angled is going to net you way more damage. And of course, when they're broadside, if you can Citadel them, probably a good idea to go for that armor piercing. But I wonder if Wargaming will nerf the legendary upgrade, or if they will nerf the ship itself. I hope it's just the legendary upgrade. I would be very sad if they nerfed the ship itself down and left the legendary upgrade, because then it would be even more mandatory for this ship to be played with its legendary upgrade. As it stands, it's actually quite solid, even without the legendary upgrade. For example, we have the same ship parameters as a Sicilia at the moment. The Research Bureau ship for 60,000 research points. Take your pick. Sicilia for 60,000 or Legmod Colombo for 20. I think Legmod Colombo every time. Enemy Colombo, yeah, that's 21,000 damage. If you think you're angling enough to sap, you aren't. You have to angle more. But the dispersion's now the same. Same Sigma, 1.6 Sigma, same dispersion. But we get access to that legendary upgrade for 6% better dispersion yet. So Sicilia's advantages are dwindling, I would say. The smoke is nicer, lasts a little longer, it's larger. It comes back quicker. That is a massive advantage. But it doesn't have sap, so you can't do the funny 20, 30k damage salvos into perfectly angled ships, and you lose some consistency because of that. Ammo, as well as the lack of dispersion upgrades that this legendary mod gives us. Bourgogne looks like he's going to turn flat broadside, so we take the time to swap to the AP. See, I'm learning. There we go. Doing a little better after that mistake on the Napoli. as well as Sicilia having better reload. That's an advantage as well. 33 seconds versus 37 seconds base. So there's a small advantage there. The secondaries really aren't great on Sicilia. I mean, they're sap secondaries, I guess, but they don't have that improved accuracy, unfortunately. So they're not very consistent. And Colombo secondaries you should not use. Do not use Colombo secondaries. They don't pen anything. They don't have any accuracy. They're very bad. So just stick with your main guns and laugh your way to insane damage totals. Even an angled Petro is going to take massive damage from us. Sure, we aren't overmatched sap as much, like the Lauria, for example, is 457 sap. 30 mil overmatched sap is kind of crazy, but Colombo still gets a decent amount of overmatch. You get 381 millimeter guns, meaning you can get through any 25 millimeter armor plating. Just overmatch it. And what does Petro upper belt have? Yeah, it's got that 25 millimeter upper belt, or upper bow, I should say. So we're going to try and aim for that here on this next salvo. It's a powerful ship, guys. It really is. This, as well as Libertad, I think probably are too overtuned. I don't think that's very controversial to say. I hope Wargaming does take a look at them. I'm a little sad, I suppose, that these ships are in the state that they are in, because I want to like them. I've long been sad that Colombo has been such a bad ship to play for so long. Libertad represents a playstyle I really enjoy, pushing brawling ships. They just kind of overdid it with both of these, especially the Libertad, giving it that insane upgraded acceleration on release. Didn't even test that one. Colombo leg mod they did test, but it seems like it might be a little bit overdone. Kraken here in this one. We find the carrier. Close game, by the way. I had a couple close games. Maybe that's why the damage output was higher as well. I got very lucky to get some close games, not the blowouts that we've been seeing over the Christmas update. Nearly 30k damage there from that AP salvo, even without citadels. Really, really nice to see. So, yes, Colombo's very good, but if you don't have it yet, the grind is hard. Getting through the tier 7, 8, 9 is tough. They do not have that accuracy advantage. Certainly no legendary upgrades to help them out at all. So they're going to struggle a little bit. And once you do get Colombo, a lot of the Colombos you see, the Colombo you see in this video has the legendary upgrade, giving it that extra 6% better dispersion. So just a little bit of caution here. Even though I'm very positive on Colombo, I think it's amazing. It's busted right now. It's so good. Just a little caution that if you're thinking of grinding it, they might be changing it. This is not me having inside information being a CC, by the way. It's just the hope of someone who sees a ship that is a little overtuned, that it would get nerfed down a little bit. Unfortunately, it's overtuned in a way that's not fun to fight against. I'm sure you've felt that as well, but sap is not a great ammo type to fight against. You angle to it, it still slaps you for a ton of damage. You go broadside to it, it still hits you for a ton of damage. And of course, that AP swap can get relatively consistent dev strikes as well. So going broadside really isn't your best option either. And I hadn't mentioned it yet, but I'm sure you light cruiser players are really enjoying fighting all the Colombos in the matchmaker. Yeah, with 96 millimeters of sap pen, that means a lot of the light cruisers at high tier, things like Svea, Smolensk, Colbert, yeah, you're getting sap citadels on that. Not only can sap just not overpen them, which is sometimes a survivability gimmick of those light cruisers, is that the AP just overpens through them because they're so small. Sap won't overpen, it hits and detonates, and also has the ability to citadel you. It is very unfortunate when you're a light cruiser and a Colombo is in your match. There's really not much of a counter, I suppose, other than running away and staying out of the line of fire, which is not great either. Broadside Yoshino, we got the AP in here as well. I haven't mentioned it yet, but the shell velocity is surprisingly good as well. So for 16 guns, you have relatively good shell velocity out to range. 380 millimeter guns, they're smaller, but the shell velocity gives you enough punching power to well, get ourselves a double citadel there on the broadside Yoshino. And I haven't compared it to it yet, but Maine is another tier 11 super ship, I suppose, with 16 guns. This time 406s, the American 406s. And if we take a look at that ship's dispersion, same battleship dispersion table. Ooh, broadside Stalin. Look at that, redemption time. It has 1.7 sigma, so only 0.1 sigma better than Colombo. And main is crazy. No redemption this time. I don't know what it was about Stalingrads, I guess, when I was playing. They were just immune to me, unfortunately. Probably a little bit of mislead, but just unlucky sometimes, even with 6 guns. But main has that insane broadside firepower as well. 0.1 sigma is enough to make a difference, obviously, but given the shell velocity differences here and that Colombo plays a better matchmaker for it, lower tier means you typically are going to see better matchmaker, even 1 tier lower. Tier 10 matchmaker is easier to find these mid-range brawling games or closer range games where main will not find those nearly as much. Understandably, Super Ships tier is very campy with the power level that we see there. Holding for the broadside Montana. Yes, even using AP here at 14.5 kilometers. I think we have enough pen for him. It's a little bit on the edge, but we should have enough. There it is, 35,000 damage, double Citadel. We love to see it. There is an element of you always want to be shooting your guns with Colombo because you have sap that can smash people at any angle, any range. But there are times where I do think holding is worth it. Going for AP is worth it. This next salvo is not. I should have swapped to the HE, or the sap, sorry, not the HE. The sap, of course, but I'm a little greedy for dev strikes, especially after that Stalingrad got away. I'm greedy for those black ribbons. You can't blame me for that, right? I gotta get myself some better salvos. Redemption after that Stalingrad, unfortunately, survived that broadside on salvo. You do lack some range, I suppose, with this build, right? 17.5 kilometers of range or so. So in these campy games, that can be a problem. But with Sansonetti, which is a special commander that not everyone's going to have, it is something that you can buff. The range upgrade comes with your first kill if you're in a Sansonetti-equipped Italian ship. Really nice to have that extra range in these games. Sure, it can mean it takes a little while to get it in this game. Still haven't got that first kill, but still, very, very nice to have that option to buff the range. GK comes out very broadside. Yes, the sap will not pen his upper belts. Russian battleships, German battleships typically will be shattering your sap, but that means that they're just going to take full pens from your AP. Especially German battleships. Poor GK, man. Gigantic superstructure. I am a little too low here, in fact, but we're still going to get a very nice salvo. I mean, the dispersion, the volume of shells, it's so powerful, man. The ship is crazy. It is a nice counter to Libertad, if you're wondering also if that's a reason why that we see so much of this ship. The sap, it full pens the Libertad belt and deck armor, so yes, I think some people would be playing it both for the buffs that it's received and the insane power level we have here, but also all the Libertads in the matchmaker queue. Probably it is nice to be running a Colombo to counter them a little bit. Broadside Yoshino yet again, and yes, this time redemption. So the Japanese heavy cruisers eating citadels left and right, the Azuma earlier, the Yoshino this time, but the Stalingrads both times. Getting away with it. Some RNG is certainly still at play here. That is obviously part of the game. All classes experience it. Colombo, even with these buffs, will still experience it. Now, thinking about pushing out here, Shimakaze hopefully will go down, but Marceau still has some torpedoes we got to worry about. But I really want to highlight the usability of the turret traverse, the 360 turrets here, and the rudder shift here. We're angled in such a way that we can fire all our guns, St. Louis, Stalingrad, but we're going to be broadside on to potential Marceau torps in the future here. I'm just kind of setting this up so you can see how nice it is to have these 360-degree turrets. It just allows you to freely swap sides of your ship, freely angle to where the torps or the threats might be coming from. Maybe a broadside, like a battleship shows up on your broadside. It allows you to turn in to angle properly without waiting all that time for your turrets to do the slow turrets all the way around the other side of your ship. In this case, we turn in and we're angling to potential Marceau torpedoes. while we're reloading, and our guns just all swap to the other side. That's not going to work when you're kiting, of course, but when you're pushing in, which typically you want to be on a bow-on angle towards people, towards the enemy, then you can make good use of this ability. The extra rudder shift is nice to see as well. That happened last year or at the beginning of 2024, depending on when you're watching this video, I suppose. But in this case, we do end up bow on to the Marceau, well angled, and we have to be aware of why he opened up. I do this all the time in my DDs as well. If the torps are going to miss, I will try to open up to get the enemy ship to maneuver in a way where the torps will try and potentially hit. In this case, maybe the Marceau was hoping that I would turn bow into the Yamato, as that was my play earlier. I bow on to one target that I don't want to shoot at, while I swing my guns towards the target I did want to shoot at. But we're a little bit aware of that, so we dodge the torpedoes, thankfully. But you do have to be a little careful of that sometimes. Colombo doesn't have to worry about that little greedy gremlin in the back of your head that says, it's going to take so long to turn the turrets. You don't need to angle. You don't have to worry about the torpedoes. Just keep all the damage output going. I know I have that little voice in my head that always wants more damage, more consistent, never stop with the damage output. And with Colombo, you can do that and still angle appropriately. There with Confederate, we get that reload buff and 261 in this one. Crazy games, crazy. I got very lucky with the games to give me these longer duration matches. We didn't have as many blowouts, of course, but Colombo is incredible. It is absolutely wonderful. The grind is hard. The legendary upgrade is a large portion of why this ship is so busted these days. So if you're thinking of grinding, just be aware of that. I don't want to paint this as some magical ship without those things. It's going to be a hard grind, and you need that legendary upgrade. And again, it is totally my guess. This is not any inside information, just my guess that this ship will get nerfed, or the legendary mod at some point, because myself and I think a lot of other people think Sicilia is just not really worth getting with this ship available. It was already a bit of a side grade where you didn't have sap, but you got a faster reload, cooler smoke, maybe secondaries. But now with this accuracy here being so good, and with the sap especially being so consistent, I mean, would you get this ship for 60k research points, man? That's a lot to grind for. Even though this one has that 20k grind requirement to get the full upgrade, the accuracy on this one. But here's the build that I was running most of the time. I did try a meme secondary build a little bit. Don't run that, by the way. It's horrible. It's horrible. No accuracy, no pen. Even with IFHE, you won't even be penning superstructures on any ships at your tier. It's bad. Don't do it. Don't do it. The main guns are the way to go. Survivability is the way to go. I was trying to mess around with maybe like a zombie heal, Colombo, max 6 heals, anything like that, but probably running basic survivability is just better, or even trying things like Brisk or Consumable Specialist are good ways to go with this thing. As for the equipment, yes, that 6th upgrade slot, man. 6 Dispersion, 6 on the reload as well. That is powerful, man. Of course, running the other aiming systems, you do want to stack them. That is very, very good here. Don't even need rudder shift to feel like an absolute god of maneuverability here. 15.3 seconds. I mean, poor Monty. Poor Monty, man. I still love this thing, but we need legendary upgrade Monty to actually get anywhere close to that. If I remove it, poor old Monty with its 22.2 second rudder. And actually, while we're at it, let's check out Yamato's legendary upgrade. 7% dispersion, 1% better than Colombo for a 13% penalty in turret traverse. And we don't have that wonderful reload on top as well that Colombo gets. Crazy upgrade. I hope it's this they nerf or change. Maybe change it in some way. I don't know, but the ship is nice now. I think it's a good idea to have Colombo and Sicilia with same dispersion tables. Colombo gets sap, but a longer reload. Sicilia gets no sap. It's just HE and AP, but a faster reload. A little more brawling focused, better smoke. It's unique, but Colombo just overpowers it with this insane accuracy on top of the sap. And armor-wise, I'll show you why we ate so much damage angled there some of the time. And that's to do with these boxes in the back here. 32 millimeters is decent, but it's flat, right? And here as well, where this secondary turret dips down, where all of this is very flat. So even when you're angling properly, it just catches shells, and it's not even your superstructure necessarily. So it's going to arm a lot of Battleship AP as well. And against yourself, against fighting a Colombo angled like that, probably why the enemy Colombo did so much damage is he easily pens all this, and it's not angled enough to actually deal with the sap. It's kind of crazy. But against HE, you're surprisingly good. 50 deck armor and 70 upper belt. There's enough cruisers that do have HE pen for 50, but not a lot. Really, Hindenburg, Goliath. There's probably a few others that I'm forgetting here, but you can shatter a lot of HE as well. It makes for a very tanky ship. And with the new flag, instead of detonations, we get extra healing or extra HP. We got over 90k HP. Feels pretty good to get up from, I think it was 89k before. It's a strong ship. It's a very busted ship, in fact. I think Wargaming went a little hard with it, but I gotta say, the game is a lot more enjoyable when you run the meta overpowered ship than when you try and run other ships into the meta overpowered ships. A bit of a, if you can't beat them, join them type of deal. So yeah, I think that's another reason we see so many of these things running around. Christmas Matchmaker has been difficult. Blowouts have been difficult. It can get frustrating, especially if you're trying to grind through some missions for the dockyard, and you need a ship that's just going to be consistent and deal with that variable matchmaker, some of the frustrations of this game. Sap is consistent. Legendary upgrade makes it even more consistent. Colombo is crazy. You probably already knew that Colombo was busted, but there you go. There's my thoughts on the Colombo these days. It's awesome. It really is. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.